Hi, I'm Boyce Lancaster, and normally we would be at the front stage, down by the front of the stage at the Southern Theater with a member of ProMusica or with a guest artist and David Dansmeyer. But with things the way they are, we are doing Coda at home conversations. And my guest today is violinist Victoria Moreira. Thanks for joining us, Victoria.
It's my pleasure, boys. How are you?
I'm well. Are you in Chicago right now?
I am in Chicago right now. Yes, I have been
And
for the past few months.
yeah, I would say that's probably everybody's story right now.
Right.
A lot of the musicians have said that they're trying to do some things online with students or with others. Are you doing any online teaching or instructing at this point?
Yeah, actually, I'm doing quite a bit of that. I teach for DePaul Community Music, and due to this pandemic, I have actually a lot of my students that ended up taking more lessons than normal. I guess because they're stuck at home.
Nothing else to do.
And why not try to get better at the violin? Works for me. I like when my students practice. Yeah, but I've been doing a lot of online teaching. I've been experimenting with a lot of online platforms for recording and things, just to also keep them motivated. But I've been having a little fun myself with those too.
Well, we just watched something from CBS yesterday about Eric Whittaker and his virtual choirs and how this thing that I think they just released it yesterday with 17,000 voices.
Oh my God.
So Eric has proven it can be done. It's just
Yes.
and they're recording them in their living rooms and everywhere else. So do you have some kind of a recording, a hot spot or a nice spot where you can sit down and make a recording for yourself?
In my apartment,
Hmm.
the place that sounds the best is the kitchen. Doesn't work best for the video though. So if it's only audio, I can definitely do it there. If it's just something a little more informal, I've been using my studio, which is where I am right now. It has, decent sound. It's a little dry, but you can always change it up a little bit if the app allows you to manipulate the sound a little bit, such as reverb or a little echo or something.
One of the things we learned when we talked to Katie was everybody likes to see where you work when you're not on stage and performing. And so the studio, I would think, would be a perfect place because everybody loves to see those types of things.
Yeah, definitely, especially if it's full of the stuff that you normally use, every day. I would show you, but right now I'm actually moving. So
Ah,
I have a mess, and so you don't want to see that. This background, it looks good.
you found your one spot. Well, if you see
It's
where I'm
good.
sitting right now, I have all the junk shoved off to the side and the rest of
Right.
it looks okay. Yeah. You are originally from Uruguay,
Mhm.
and the country of your youth really informs a lot of what you do. I think people sometimes try to pigeonhole musicians and performers, but you seem to do anything to keep from being pigeonholed, and tango, particularly, is a personal favorite.
Yes, definitely. I not only grew up in Uruguay and the capital in Montevideo, where tango is alive, but I also come from a family of musicians. My dad is a cellist, and he was actually the student of Jose Bragato, who was Astor Piazzolla's right hand man. And so I grew up hearing stories and listening to a lot of music, traveling a lot to Buenos Aires. Of course, I also have family there. My grandma was Argentinian. So I spent my childhood and my youth, my teenage years, playing even music with my dad and gigging around, just playing in tango groups. My mom is a tango dancer, so I
Mm.
was also very involved in that. I dance, but not in public. I prefer to grab my violin and play with the group.
I made that same promise to audiences a year ago. I will not dance in front of you.
That sounds good.
So, what do you've made several recordings, several tango recordings. What's the most recent one? That was a couple of years ago, I think.
So the most recent one is the one that incorporated all the tango stuff into my string quartet. So for many years, I played with a tango ensemble, and I also did a little bit of freelancing on my own. I did couple recordings in Buenos Aires with Orquesta Típicas, which are the traditional tango groups. In this group, we traveled a lot and we did tango shows in a more traditional way. I was very interested in looking into how I use the tango music, but not piazzolla. I'm talking about earlier tango forms too, more traditional tango, into my string quartet. Kind of not to elevate it. I don't really like using that word, but to apply it into strings, and what was a way to explore the style, but with my quartet. So the last two recordings I did for tango are specifically for the string quartet. Arrangements were a combination of things that my dad did, some that I did. I like to write my own cadenzas. I find it's very fun. Plus, I can write for my own comfort, so I can always play them. So yeah, the last two recordings were that. The first one is all traditional tangos for string quartet, and that the album's name is Cuartango. And the latest one is called Sureño. Sureño means from the south, but it's also a word that appears in tango slang, and it's used in a lot of the tango poetry, specifically to talk about the people from the Rio de la Plata in Buenos Aires and Montevideo. And that particular album is Piazzolla's Four Seasons, which most people know, and three pieces that were originally written by for string quartet by Jose Bragato, the cellist that played with Piazzolla, and also my dad's teacher. So that album really means the world to me. It has a lot of emotional content, and the music is just beautiful as well. Every time we played it in concerts, people just go crazy. It's just very audience friendly. It's very accessible and super enjoyable. So,
well, they talk about the lineage of student and teacher and the like, but you have this amazing lineage with the foundational aspect of what people in this country recognize oftentimes as tango, which is mostly piazzolla, and then the traditional side. Give us a little description, if it's possible, on what the difference is in what you would hear more traditionally, maybe on the street corner or something, and what Piazzolla did in the concert hall.
Right. So tango it's a dance form, it's music form, it's poetry that goes back to 1800s and so forth. It was very clandestine in the beginning. It was kind of taboo, it was very hidden. It was born in brothels, and was music. Well, it actually originated as a dance, and the music started imitating the steps that we're seeing, which is strange and super interesting, because it's the only Latin American style of music and dance that actually originates that way. Super, super cool. And the form of the music, it kind of evolved from different things, from traditions from Europe, from African rhythms, along with other things like the habanera from Cuba. There's a bunch of stuff. I'm not going to bore you with the history of tango. But it basically had three main styles of music. You have tango, milonga, and waltz. And that was what was played in what was called milongas, is the social tango gathering where people dance and everything. There's a lot of times there's lyrics. Actually, most times are lyrics. The lyrics are pretty sad and upsetting, melancholic and whatnot. There's books and books written about the slang of tango itself, because it's just a whole world that, it's pretty incredible. It's pretty great. So what Piazzolla did was, his main mission was to take tango away from the social gatherings into the concert stage. So he studied with Nadia Boulanger in France, and story says that he was practicing his bandoneon after, I don't know, composing a symphony, very much in a romantic style or modern style, whatever it is. And he's just practicing his bandoneon, and Nadia was walking by the hallway and heard him. And she entered the room and said, "That's what you should be composing with." Yep. So, meaning you have to find your voice. So after he went back to Buenos Aires, he formed a nonette, a group of 9 players, and started writing music in this new style. That basically what it did is it blended the classical traditions with very strong tango traditions. However, audience did not like it at first. He was not loved. It was, of course, anybody that is a revolutionary in music is not always well accepted. That's the story that repeats itself. And, he kept playing, and he started just traveling, and he really, I mean, I love Piazzolla. I think he was a true genius. He made tango known around the world, and he really gave the music a role of being a protagonist, because up until that point the music was never the protagonist. The music was always just what dancers dance to, and I think that he was really interested in flipping that around, or at least making the music the highlight. And he definitely did it. Yep. I think thanks to Piazzolla, a lot of people know what tango is. And even though, yes, it's not traditional tango, it's what's called nuevo tango or whatever it is, he really created a language. You hear it and you right away, you're like, oh, that's Piazzolla. And if it's not Piazzolla, it's someone writing like him.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is,
because they want to get in the concert hall too.
Right, exactly.
So do things that you, because growing up, this is a huge, like, you're imbued with this language. How did that inform when you started stepping into the concert hall, and how does it blend with what you're doing today? Because you're on stage with ProMusica, of course, and in many other ensembles around the world.
I mean, regarding my childhood and how it integrated, I mean, all my family, they're musicians, and they're all orchestra musicians. They all play in the symphony. And my mom, she, you know, before being a tango dancer, she was a ballerina. So I kind of grew up in the theater, literally. Yeah. So I was there all the time. I mean, rehearsals in my mom's camerino, and then having to sit in the audience, do my homework while my dad had rehearsal. I mean, so being on stage for me is natural and normal. And, you know, nowadays, I think about, you know, wow, I ended up, you know, becoming a violinist. I'm like following my family's tradition, but I really, truly love it. And it is who I am. And maybe this is why I love it so much. It's just, it feels genuine to my person. And, you know, when it came being here, I think that the fact that I was alone made me want to hold on to the things that are dear to me, the things that keep my identity alive, and things that make me truthful to who I am. Yeah. So I think playing a lot of tango and being here is amazing, because like, oh, there's this violinist from Uruguay. Oh, I know this pianist. He's from Argentina. Why don't you go meet him? Okay, great. And then so then you meet another person. So it's like, it's a small circle. So we all end up meeting each other and kind of knowing each other, collaborating at some point if we are in different cities. And you start making those connections, and it's really great because you meet a lot of people that are kind of in the same boat. Like, okay, I'm far from home and I want to do this. Great. And then not only doing it with these people, but for me, it was like, okay, I'm going to bring it to my quartet. Let's do this. And they love it. I mean, we went to Uruguay and Argentina already 2 times. We're hoping, if everything goes well, we go again next year. And it's wonderful for them too, because they're, you know, 3 Americans, but they, I mean, one of them also dances tango at this point. They really started to learn how to not only love the culture and the music, but to understand it, which is wonderful. I think it's a true mix of things, which is my favorite part. So,
well, there's obviously real passion for you in this, and some of that must be helping you get through all of this that we're involved in right now.
Yeah.
With kind of a dark cloud, but are you finding any kind of a bright spot, any kind of a silver lining in the time you've had to spend kind of sequestered in your own place?
Actually, yes. There are a couple of things that I think have been quote unquote great. One of them is on a personal level, very personal level. I have been sleeping more.
Wow, and that's a good thing for a musician. Yeah.
I mean, to be honest with you, I feel great in that sense. I don't think I have been sleeping this much. I mean, no, I'm not sleeping all day, but, you know, just sleeping a little more than normal. And it's kind of changed the way I do certain things. It's a learning lesson for me to, you know, realize that, oh, well, maybe I should be sleeping 1 extra hour. It makes me more efficient during the day. So it's not wasting my time, which is maybe what I was thinking before. I'm a complete type A person. I always have to get everything done. And so, you know, sleeping, I guess, was something I was neglecting, and I really enjoyed that extra hour nowadays. So now on a more general level, and this actually is what is most dear to me, is that I've had the time to reconnect with a lot of people that because being busy and doing this and doing that, you just keep going with your days and you don't spend the time to, even if it's sitting in front of the computer and saying, hey, let's have a 30-minute coffee. That has been wonderful. And I really, really enjoy that. And the third thing, I've been practicing things that I normally don't.
David Dansmeyer, she's practicing. A
I am
plus for
practicing.
Victoria.
Well, to be honest, I think that, for me, between ProMusica and the quartet and some other things that I do on the side, I really don't have a lot of leftover time to practice things that are just for me. Yeah. We all do a little scales and a little maintenance etudes or whatever it is, but there have been certain pieces that I've been wanting to either play or look at or revisit that I just don't have the time. And because so many things have been canceled, I'm like, well, I don't have to learn that piece anymore. So today I'm going to practice this instead. And it's been really great. Maybe I'm not practicing as much as I could, but I have really been enjoying my practicing. It's
refreshing.
It's been a really nice way of reconnecting with my instrument in a way. And I think that is pretty positive for me.
Well, Victoria, we look forward to hearing some of that reconnection with your instrument. Next time we're in the Southern Theater, and there will be a next time in the Southern Theater.
For sure.
Victoria Moreira is a violinist with ProMusica Chamber Orchestra and plays music all over the world for audiences everywhere. We look forward to the next time we get to see you on stage. Thanks for your time today.
Me too. My pleasure. Bye, Boyce.
Bye-bye.